Have you ever felt?
Damn.
You're watching the Inspire Nepal show. I'm your host, Dinesh Roka, and on the show, we have Kabi Rai. He's an aspiring entrepreneur, a very fascinating guy. He's also a very good friend of mine, and he currently lives in Swindon. Kabi, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dinesh. My pleasure.
I've known you for over 4 years now,
Yep.
and the only way I can describe you is you're a warrior, man. I mean, I guess you've always been a warrior because you've overcame so much in your life. But I want to talk about a lot of things. Okay, mainly your, the way you overcame your drug addiction and things of that nature. But before I go into that, tell me where you were born and raised.
Thank you. Thank you for having me in the show. Looking back in time, I was born in Hong Kong, brought up in Kathmandu, and that's where I was raised, and that's where I spent most of my childhood. Yeah.
So born and raised in Kathmandu.
Yeah.
Oh, born in Hong
Born
Kong.
in Hong Kong and raised in Kathmandu.
And you finished your education, your school, which is there.
Yeah, I barely did it.
Whereabouts in Kathmandu did you?
Lived in Banishore, New Banishore.
Banesor.
Yeah.
Good place to live.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
So when did you actually move to UK then?
I moved to UK in 2007, I think end of June, and yeah.
End of June.
Yeah.
So did you live in Swindon like when you came to the UK or?
No. Basically, when I first came to UK, my dad was working in Northern Ireland, and then that's how I got straight to Northern Ireland. And after moving from Northern Ireland, moved to Northern Ireland. Yeah, that's where I lived for a few years. And then I moved to London, and then I came to Swindon there.
Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So how is Northern Ireland different to England that you live?
Well, I lived there for 2 years, and the vibe that I got from Northern Ireland is it's much more quieter place, and people are much more friendly. I'm not saying English people aren't, but people were like, I think it was a small community. So yeah, where I lived, it was a small community. So like each and everybody knew each other. So it was all good in the streets. Yeah.
So your first few years was, would you say you were quite, easily blending with the culture and things like that?
I think I found it quite easy to blend in. Yeah, it wasn't much problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very good.
That's good. Talk me through how you came across, drug and drug use, and take me through that experience.
Okay, so the word itself, drug, it has a lot of negativity in the society, and me personally being a former drug user, I haven't used it for a long time, and I'm really thankful to God. Drug use, I came to across drugs when I was very young, and it was because of some elderly guys that I knew, and then they were doing it, and I sort of found it fascinating. I didn't get straight into drugs, but I just sort of found it fascinating. And when I was quite young, when you're young, you just wanna experience things, and that's what it was like. And I saw them experiencing the high of life, and I was like, that's sort of cool. When you look up to older generations and when they're doing things and you find it cool, that's how I came across drugs. Yeah.
So you were kind of influenced by your older, generations.
Well, I think it was not just influence. I think it was you being in that, that you're not adult but you're not kid no more. You're just in between that. There's a movie called Kidulthood. That says a lot. You're just in between adult and kids, and so that's when you wanna try new stuff and be the cool kid in the block. So that was it.
That's cool. Were you influenced by media and movies and things like that?
Yeah, sort of. And I used to watch a lot of gangster movies and whatnot. And I think a lot of young kids do, and there's so much media out there. Then back then we didn't have much. Internet was one time thing. One weekend you go down to the cyber cafe, and once you get an email, it was a big thing. You checked each and every email. But nowadays it's everywhere. So yeah, that was it, man.
I heard, Tony Robbins, right?
Yeah.
I heard him talk about, he was talking about the 6 basic human needs, and significance was one of them. And he was talking about how people get into, gangs and drugs because they want to feel significant. Does that apply to, maybe that had some impact on you as well?
You want to stand out, Everybody wants to stand out. You want to be the guy, you want to be the girl, you want to be the the talk of the like freaking society and whatnot. You want to be the cool kid, like you want to stand out. So you want to be significant in people's life, and you want to be there. Like for example, because when I grew up, I was one of the kid to look at, you know. So it was sort of like that as well. And obviously, you don't know in your head, like you feel like, oh, when you're cool, like you're the guy, you know. That's the kind of thing you feel in the head, but eventually when you grow up, it's not the case.
That's very interesting. But did you ever think that you would get addicted to drug when you first started using it?
I think nobody would think they would get addicted. For me personally, I did not. It was just recreational thing. I saw them do it, and you know what? It was fascinating. I started doing it, and I started doing it like on a like off basis, like once here, once there. Like I don't know. It wasn't such regular thing, but eventually I started like doing it more regularly.
You know, that's very fascinating because I've never used drug myself, and for someone who's never used drugs and who's never been addicted to drugs, I don't know what it feels like to be using drugs.
Okay.
What was your journey like, your experience after you start using drugs? I know people who've used drugs, but what was your experience personally?
Right. The thing over here you gotta look at is just now you said that you've never used drugs, but you know somebody who's used drugs.
Yeah, I think everyone knows someone who used
So,
drugs.
how did you react to them using drugs?
I guess pretty much most people react the same way, and I think I do react the same way. That's how we've been taught by society to.
Yeah. What is the same way?
Same way as in we try to put barriers in between.
Yeah, that's
And,
exactly how
yeah.
I felt. I felt like, you know, I was the only one, right? But thankfully my family were there for me, you know, like they didn't know like exactly what I was doing, because like they were not very educated to know what I knew. They knew I was doing just drugs, right? But they didn't know what I was doing exactly, right? But at the same time, my journey for me when I got started was the blame is all down to me, right? Nobody's to blame, right? It's all down to me. I got to take responsibility, and it wasn't an easy thing, and it was all about doing that. And literally after some time, I just like thought I was just having fun, right? The next minute I realized I was in a deep pothole, and then when I looked up, there was nothing I could look up to, and I was lost, confused, and I started doing the things I never thought I'd do, you know. It was very tough, and when I looked over for some help, like I had some good friends, but they were like, you gotta stop doing drugs, and they started like, it was an easy journey, and like the society, they think of you as an evil like person, you know. Like I was in a problem, but they thought, like, they really thought that, you know, this guy's doing drugs, he's a problem, right? And nobody wants to be a problem, right? They didn't see the deep like scars that has caused within me, and then I think with each and every drug users.
Yeah,
Right,
I think
so-
they regard people who use drug as a problem, and they tend to put a barrier. Nobody wants to associate with, you know, people who like are using drug.
Yeah.
Or there's, I think, some sort of disconnection there.
Yeah, there's definitely a big disconnection, and if you look at addiction, right, you could be addicted to anything, but addiction with drugs is like they just treat it in a whole different level,
Yeah.
right? For example, everybody's addicted to phone, but that's normal, right? That's normal, absolutely normal. But with drugs, everybody thinks
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're the bad guy, you're like, you know, one of us, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Russell Brand, I was watching one of his interviews, and he said, people who use drug, they think drug addiction is a crime, but the way he thought was different. He said it was more of an illness, not a crime. I thought that was very interesting. What was your view on that?
Right, so it is an illness, right? It's not a crime, but what happens after the illness could be a crime. So that's my thought on it. For example, Russell Brand, he's a pretty rich guy. He doesn't need he doesn't care much about money, you know, right? I think he's a well-off guy, you know. I think he's earned a few millions probably.
Maybe.
I don't know. So he's got no problem like uh,
Getting
nah,
money for
yeah. He's got no problem supporting his habit.
yeah.
Right, for a normal dude, like like you're making a few £1,000s a month, probably, right? So you would struggle, mate. You'd struggle.
Yeah. And when people go, beyond their normal, society, whatever the society thing is normal, like, maybe unethical and even immoral things to get that money or whatever it is, stealing, do you think you tend to kind of rationalize what you're doing?
Nah, the brain's always ticking. The brain's always ticking. I think we all do rationalize our actions in some certain ways, but like the only thing you care about while you're in the withdrawal symptom is all you think about is how am I gonna get the next like dose of drugs, and that's the end of story, right? For example, like anybody, like if you want to win, you like sometimes people play dirty and it's not ethical, but people still do, and it's the same with drugs. That's the same with drugs, but it's looked in a whole different level.
Okay. It's very difficult to get over drug addiction. I've seen people struggle.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult to get over any addiction, whether that's smoking
Absolutely,
or alcohol, whatever it is, gambling. But how did you do it? What was your reason behind, being able to overcome your addiction?
That's a great question, right? So, like you said, it's not easy to overcome any addiction, but at that time, the first time I really, really, really quit drugs, it was because I had to move from Nepal to UK. So that was the first time I quit drugs like really well, right? And I went cold turkey. I mean, like literally cold turkey. And it took me some time to get my act together and myself together. It wasn't easy, but my family were very supportive about it, so it was all good. And I could and then when I moved to London, I started doing drugs again, and I got into the vibe of getting into drugs again, and literally I quit few times. I mean, like taking medications and whatnot, but I think end of 2010, I moved to Swindon. That's end of 2000. Yeah, end of 2010, I moved to Swindon, and I made a big decision that it's time to stop, and yeah, that was it. And I literally changed my environment, my friends. I didn't literally change it, but I left everything behind and started moving on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very good move, because if you stay in the same place, you might quit for like few weeks, but then because
Yeah,
you're
could
in
be
the
the
same
case.
environment,
Yeah.
same people around,
Yeah.
you're more likely to
Yeah. The thing
start
is
again.
that a lot of people like go to rehab and center, and they come when they come back, they go back to the same old place. It happens in each and everything. They try and get into some stuff, like for example, you go to one of the seminars and you get all vibed up, you all jacked up, fired up, and the next minute you come in, you realize you're back in the same society. You're fired up for a few months or like days and whatnot, or probably a year, and then the society starts getting to you. It just literally start getting. You start getting phone calls, like from former friends, and you'd be like, I think I should give it a try one time, and then before you know, you're back on it again. Right, before you know, you're back on it again. So I highly recommend, like, they are still your friends, but one of the guys says something like this: some people can be in your heart but not in your life. So it's about time you choose who you keep in your heart and not in your life. So that's it.
That's a good one. Was your family a very strong reason for you, to get over this addiction and move, just get over it?
Yeah, they definitely played a very big part. Like family has always been the thing, like amazing thing for me, because I've been one of the naughty ones, but they've loved me no matter what, and through thick and thin, they've always been there for me. And the thing is that is, because of them being them, I've been able to open up so much with them, Like I've been able to share problems with them. I've been able to share happiness with them. I'm a very hard person to live with, but my family's coped very well with me, and I'm really, really, really thankful. And I would recommend each and every family to be that way. Even if you're struggling and you think your son is no good, your daughter is no good, like it's just one of the times that one has to go through and one can overcome. So it's not easy, but you should be there. Your family should be there, mate.
Yeah, they definitely need the support,
Yeah.
because it's difficult
Yeah.
getting over the addiction itself.
Mm.
But if you don't get the support that you need, it's even more difficult, I think. I'm very curious, why do people get hooked on the drugs? I mean, they know that it's bad for them. It's
Yeah.
like, people who smoke, they know that it's bad for their health,
Yeah.
but they still do smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was your view?
The thing is, people know what to do, but they don't do what they know, right? For example, like you're not meant to eat a lot of carbs, like heavy carbs. You're not into meat, like you eat like a lot of fat, but people do, right? But it's just the thing that the taste of it, right? For example, McDonald's, right? The cheeseburger, when you eat like yum, 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 it's so good, right? But like they don't think the after effect of it, right? That's the thing. And with drugs, it's like when you have it, it's like mommy's loving you. When you don't have it, your daddy's beating your ass up. That's the feeling. That's why, like, would you want love? Would you want love?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what the feeling is like. And you start getting love, 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 and then you're spoiled. That's it. Like that's the reason why people like still do drugs. I mean, a lot of people do to support the habit, and a lot of people start doing it because they just want to get high. They just want to like cut them off the society. A lot of reasons why people start doing drugs and still keep doing it. But some people, they are unaware that they could get some help, and there's some help, right? So there's lot of reasons, but it's been one of the things that's not talked in the society in a very open manner. So I think it's about time we change that. And for me, quitting drugs is one of the things that really quitting drugs was one of the things when I, at one point, like the God within me, the intuition told me that it's about time you got to move on. And then I moved on. For people, they have this feeling that they got to move on, but they don't have any guidance. For example, a lot of my friends, they wanted to move on, but they couldn't, right? Yeah, that's it. For me, I'd done it before, and I knew I could do it, so it was all the psychological thing that it was easy for me. So yeah, that's it.
I don't consider myself a drug expert, or neither have I had a drug addiction before. But I've recently watched a video about drug. It was actually a TED talk show by John Hurry, and he was talking about drugs and addiction and things like that. The topic was very interesting. It said, everything you think you know about addiction is wrong. And after watching that video, I realized something that, we as a society have very little knowledge about, what actually is drug addiction or any addiction and how we should deal with it. And we normally tend to, like I said earlier, put a barrier between, whoever's using drug. We tend to disassociate with them, disconnect with them, and, the country proves it. We banned drug, we criminalized, drug users and things like that. Obviously, it's not working because we've had this for a century now, and definitely isn't the correct approach. What do you think is the right approach of dealing with this sort of issue?
Right. So the question you're asking here is a very massive question over here. There's a lot of factors to look at, and just you said you're not a drug expert because you never used one, and a lot of drug expert, the people who's making decisions about drugs, they've never done freaking drugs. How would they know about what's going to happen with the drugs, right? And like you told, it's been banned over hundreds of years, and it's literally banned over 100 years, and it's not literally working, and the money in drugs is going higher, and the quality of drugs is going lower, and the drugs you get in the streets are getting lower class and lower class, right? So there's a lot of things over here, and the TED Talk, I've watched it, and it's quite fascinating. And this guy, I think he's never done drugs, but he's done quite a lot of study on drugs, right? And I think he's lost his family to drugs, I think, if I remember. And he talks about a lot of experiments the doctors did and whatnot. And one of the fascinating experiment one of the doctors did was about the rat. I think you remember that, right?
Yeah.
The rat. One of the rat is like, he's just literally left alone with drug water and clean water. And the rat prefers the drug water and literally slowly dies after a few, I don't know, some time. And the next thing, the experiment says that drug is bad. But after some time, there's another experiment done, and
I think
there's
they create
yeah.
like a rat park, something
yeah,
like that.
there's some few rats, gymming, right,
Cheese
yeah,
and some color balloons.
yeah, definitely, and then all the rats are left there with drug water and normal water, and the next thing they realize is like rats are not drinking drug water.
I think because they are,
Yeah,
engaged with,
enjoying the moment.
more
innit?
moment, engaged
Yeah.
with communicating with other rat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But
Yeah, the
I
rats do
think
that.
they said that because they had a lot of things going on in their life in this in this particular topic we're talking about rats. They had a lot of things going on. They had their life full of connection, and they were not lonely and isolated. And I think it applies to human as well. And I think obviously we haven't done a mass human experiment, but something about war, you probably know about it.
The war on drugs goes back a long way, but at one point in time in Vietnam, right? In Vietnam, what it was, I wasn't born there, but it's one of the stories that I read and heard. And in Vietnam, when the soldiers, American soldiers, were like heard, they were using morphines, and morphine is quite a strong drug. I mean, it's like
a heroin.
it is a heroin.
Pure form of
Yeah,
heroin, isn't it?
It is a heroin, right? So when they were using drugs, they were using like real high intense drugs, and then the war, like everybody thought like we're gonna have junkies, war junkies, not just war junkies but real junkies, right? And then when they came back home, they went back to the normal environment, the friends, families, and loved ones. And the next thing they realized is that over 95% of people like went back to the normal lifestyle, right? Over here, like they went onto the real connection rather than being put on no connection. So that makes a huge difference. But I'm not saying by all means that like you want to avoid problems, but there's a better way of avoiding problems. Like for example, with drug addicts, don't just freaking say that you're not one of us. Like, he's just a normal guy, right? A girl. He just in a problem, right? Just guide them to the same like better way, Right? That's it's about. It's about being loved and loving each other, So that's it.
Yeah. I've got a very controversial question here. Do you think that drugs should be legalized and decriminalized so we can freely buy them on the shop and things like that? Because some countries have actually done that, and they've shown a great improvements in reducing the amount of drug use and drug addiction. And I think there was, what was it? Which country?
Portugal.
Portugal, yeah.
It's Portugal. So there's like pros and cons of both of it, but I think if you look at the government itself, I think the government is supporting drug drug uses as well. Because if you look at it, the prices of drugs has gone up, and they know it's gone up because it's illegal. Because everything legal is like usually tends to be a lot cheaper, right? And for example, if it's an illegal thing, it would be very hard for me to get drugs.
So the value would go up.
Yeah, definitely would go up, right? And even to make the bags bigger, I mean, and people do a lot of stuff. They put sleeping powders and a lot of mixtures and chemicals. That's another thing. But I think with drugs
I think, just sorry to interrupt you, but I think when they mix that other, powders and chemicals, I think it's making what morphine is the pure form, isn't it? I think they're making it more distorted, and I think it's actually bad for health.
If
they were to get the real pure
it's
form of heroin, that would actually have some benefit.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people like in Iraq or somewhere, I heard like a lot of people who work real hard in the break they have morphine, heroin, to relax them up. So I don't know. So that's the thing. I've never been to Iran or Iraq, but yeah, that's what it is. I'm not saying like it is what it is, but I've heard. I'm not sure, but and in Portugal, for example, everybody who had drugs, they were like when they came back from rehab and whatnot, they were told like, you know what, let's clean up your act. Even people were like, the government was like, if you give this guy a job, I'll pay half his freaking salary, right? So that's a very good place to start. Like something of good change. A lot of people lose track in transition. For example, you could be a very good sports person, right? And you're a young kid and you with all the potential, but the next thing you know is you start like when you finish your school, you start going to college, and then there's a bit of change. When change happens, a lot of people lose track. So I think that's a very good place to start. When the transition period is there, just be a supportive person.
Yeah. Cool.
And again, talking about is it legal, illegal, we can go both ways. So I don't know.
So you which side do you tend to lean on? Should be legalized, or because the illegal system hasn't been working?
Yeah,
So
I think we need to sort of like not really legalize it, but I think we need to loosen some few strings here and there, so that the drugs are much more safer for drug users.
so it can be
Yeah.
legalized, and
Yeah.
then we can regulate the safety,
Yeah.
so that people are getting,
Yeah.
not overdosing themselves on drugs and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. Like overdose is another thing, but if you get cleaner drugs out there, cleaner needles and whatnot, I think that would make much more impact.
Yeah,
Right? A lot of people, a lot of lives could be saved. A lot of lives.
I was talking to you last time, and we're trying to spread this message, and I think it's going around in the internet as well. And the message is this: it says, the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, which is being sober. The opposite of addiction is connection. So they're saying that it's the lack of connection that's causing people to bond with drugs and alcohol and gambling and all sort of addiction. So I think it's the lack of addiction, and I fully agree with it. What's your opinion on that one?
Well, my friend, misery loves company, right? So that's the thing you got to look at. And everybody wants to be in sort of like, happy mood. So it's a whole different topic now. Like, for example, if you look at any of the like gamblers, right? They do it for fun. It's all fun and games to start. And before you know, everybody's like obsessed about it, and the next thing they're addicted. So it's not just being about sober, it's about like putting the line in all the things,
So
right?
knowing your limits.
Yeah, knowing your limits. And I'm not saying limit everything, but there's some certain things, if you like go a bit too far, that's harmful for you.
This is what I believe. Obviously, as a society, we've come very far.
Yeah.
We've evolved. We are one of the most intelligent species in the planet Earth.
We like to think that.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we also like to think that we are one of the most connected society that has ever lived. But with all the globalization and social media and the new technologies, I think we are still one of the most loneliest society out there. Because people, you see, like you look around, it's evident. There are a lot of unhappy people. I think people are more connected with their smartphones and Facebook and things like that, and they're losing that face-to-face connection with their friends and families and people.
The thing is, everybody's got a choice, and it's a free world, free country, and whatnot. But everybody's got a choice, right? So I'd say like, I think it's a very good thing that we got smartphones and connections and whatnot, right? So I think it's a very good thing, because, for example, I left school ages ago, but I'm still connected with my friend to some certain extent, right? And if I ever go back, I'll be like, you know what, I'm coming back, let's meet up, right? For example, you got a smartphone, but nobody's saying you have to be addicted to it. It's again about putting the limit where it stays, right?
Being aware.
Yeah, you don't freaking... I see people freaking go to toilet with mobile phones and they're there for like freaking ages.
Yeah.
Like, what for? Come on.
Yeah, it's
Right?
meant to be a tool, but I think
Yeah.
the tool is overtaking over our lives.
We humans, we tend to, like, we are the creators of our own destructions. That's who we are. We tend to take things too far. Drugs is anything that alters your system, body system, and it's been created for good. But people taking it too far, people taking it too far.
Kabi, I told you before, I've known you for 4 years now, and you've come very far. You've come a long way, and obviously you've overcome your addiction, you've overcome so much of your life challenges, and now you're married to an amazing lady, and things are going good for you.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that you've faced? I mean, what are some of the lessons that you've learned?
The thing is, as you go in time, you start to learn from stuff, and then you start to grow as a person. And I'm very thankful to you guys, because I've been in a very good environment, and I've been able to keep everything together, right? But it's not always like fun times. There's always struggles, right? Everybody's got trials and tribulations to go through and whatnot. But the thing with that is, I've known you for 4 years now, and I've grown as a person, as you say, but it's all thanks to the people I'm surrounded by, and also the fact that I've been one of the persons. I've been able to do what I want to do because I just do it, right? And for example, if I thought about, you know what, if I quit drugs, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, and whatnot, I didn't think too much of it. You know what, I said, it's about time, it's got to be done, it's got to be done. So I just did it,
Yeah.
and people look forward to future far too freaking much, right? And even Steve Jobs says, like, it might not make sense when you look forward, but when you look backwards, all the dotted lines joins up, so something along those lines, right? So when you look back, all the lines join up. So I think I'm taking that way, and I'm taking the approach that, like, if I've got the intuition, and if the God within me is telling me to do what I need to do, I just do it.
Yeah, just go with the gut feeling.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't do that. I think I highly recommend, if it's time, it's got to be done.
What advice would you give someone, let's say, it doesn't matter whether they're young or old, and they're struggling to recover from drug addiction?
First thing I'd say is realizing the fact that it's not good for you.
But don't everyone know that it's not good for them?
Right, but when you have the deep realization, that's really going to make a huge
So you're
change.
saying that they need to realize not just
Yeah,
intellectually,
yeah,
but also from within.
yeah.
So
Right,
they need to have emotional change.
Right, and one of the person I watched was Dan Pena, and he says the only thing that changes person is inspiration or desperation, right? For example, if somebody is about to stab you and you got a gun in the hand, would you shoot that person? Your life is literally changed in seconds, right? So that's the thing. So either you're going to be desperate or really inspired. And I think hopefully this talk you're doing over here, I'm really, really, really thankful that you're putting it out there for the people. I think this could inspire some people to make some changes, right? So I think that's a good thing. And also, if you need help, people are out there, just got to contact them and just be open about it, right? And I'd recommend all the people who are on drugs to just be themselves, don't harm others, and don't harm yourself.
Good advice. Finally, what would you say to a parent, okay, whose child,
Yeah.
Girl or boy, doesn't matter, and they are using drugs, and the parents, they want to help their children to overcome and recover from drugs, but they don't know, they've got no idea what to do.
Right. For example, you're talking about a situation where my family was few time ago, like few years ago, and they didn't know what I was doing, but they were struggling. But the thing I'd recommend all the families to go through is, because I've seen my parents like be in pain because of me, right? And it's very painful to watch your son literally like dig his own graveyard, right? So it's very sad. But thing with family is, as heard and I've seen people, I mean parents, buy drugs for the kids, so that they don't steal and they don't go out there. But you're not like solving the real cause of it, right? You're just solving the problem.
They're solving the current problem that's
yeah,
occurring right now,
yeah.
but they're not looking beyond that.
Yeah, and a lot of people, what they tend to do is they sometimes get so fed up, like, you know what, you're no more freaking welcome here. And you know what's gonna happen? Like, this guy is already freaking frustrated. The next thing he knows is he doesn't know like what's next, and that scares people. And then when you're scared, you do some like worse things,
silly things,
stupid things and whatnot. But I think the biggest recommendation I would give to families is be supportive about it. Don't be too nice about it, but be supportive. Sometimes you gotta be like very strong with your kids, and sometimes you just gotta be soft. You just need to know when to, right? You just gotta evaluate the situation and just act upon it. And if the kid is asking for help, give the help to him. I mean, don't give him money to buy drugs, but you know what, like there's better ways to solve this, right?
Yeah, I think it all boils down to, like you said, being aware
Yeah.
of, being aware that you need to get over it for,
For good.
obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And obviously being connected. This is for everyone, connected with that person who is using drugs. And obviously compassion comes into play as well, because without compassion there isn't anything. And that's what this channel is all about, connecting with people, bringing awareness, and
Definitely.
really promoting compassion, connection, and all the things that we need in our society, which will help us create a better society.
Yeah, definitely. You know, one thing I heard from Marianne Williamson was, if you want a better life, you gotta have a better conversation in your head, and if you want a better society, you gotta have a better conversation in the society. So I think it's about time we just leave everything about drugs behind, and it's not just a taboo thing. You know, like a lot of people like are suffering, but let's talk about it in a like better way. You know. And so people feel comfortable, like drug addicts feel comfortable talking about it, and they can start changing lives. And the thing with lives is, like, your life is not just yours. You're connected to people. Everything's connected, my friend. So you gotta see the bigger picture and how it's affecting the society. And we can really make real big change if we really stick together. And yeah, that's it.
Kabi, I've really enjoyed having this,
Likewise.
very open and engaging conversation with you, and it's really good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Damn.